All right, so we're diving back into Nursery of the Gods by James Cobham. Picking up where we left off in chapter 5, and wow, this chapter on near-death experiences, well, it's a lot.
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what if everything we think we know is, wrong?
No kidding. One of the things that struck me is how many people who've had NDEs, they almost can't even describe it.
Yeah.
Cobham uses this word, ineffability. It's like the experience is beyond language.
Right, exactly. It's like trying to explain a dream, you're like, it was so vivid and real, but then you try to put it into words and
It just falls apart. Yeah.
exactly. And it's not just the visuals either. It's the whole thing. Like Cobbin talks about how some people experience time totally differently during an NDE.
Yeah, like it all happens at once.
Yeah, kind of, but it still somehow makes sense to them in that moment. But then try to explain that to someone who hasn't experienced it.
Yeah, good luck with that. Our brains are so wired for linear time. It's like trying to explain a color you've never seen.
Exactly. It really highlights just how subjective these experiences are. But speaking of subjective, can you imagine anything more jarring than suddenly realizing you're clinically dead?
Okay, yeah, that's got to be a mind bender. I mean, we're talking about people seeing their own bodies, right? Like
Yeah.
floating above themselves, the whole out-of-body thing.
It's a really common theme in NDE accounts. And Cobbin talks about how people react to this realization in all sorts of ways. Some people feel detached, like they're watching a movie. Others feel this incredible sense of peace and even joy.
Really. Joy. You'd think it'd be terrifying.
You think so, right? But it just goes to show there's no one right way to react to something like that. It's all filtered through your own, individual experiences and beliefs.
It's like even death is a personal journey. So you're clinically dead, you're looking down at your own body. What happens next?
Well, that's where things get even wilder. This is when people describe really feeling that out-of-body experience, like actually floating, moving through walls even,
Hmm.
being able to teleport just by thinking about it.
Hold on, wait, teleporting,
Yeah.
as in, poof, you're somewhere else.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, but it's something that comes up a lot in these accounts. But there's a catch. It seems like even though people can move through the physical world in this state, they can't really interact with it the way they're used to.
Oh, so you can see everything, but you can't actually do anything.
Exactly. Imagine that frustration,
Yeah.
being so close to everything and everyone you know, but totally cut off.
It'd be like being a ghost in your own life.
That's a great way to put it. You're there, but not really. And Cobbin, he really emphasizes how isolating that can feel for people.
Yeah, I bet. And I have a feeling that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the crazy stuff people experience during NDEs.
It really is just the beginning. And this is where things get super interesting in Chapter 5. We were talking about out-of-body experiences. Well, Cobbin talks about people having, like, verifiable out-of-body experiences during their NDEs. They're seeing things, details they couldn't possibly have known otherwise.
You mean like that story with the tennis shoe? That one really got to me.
Exactly. Maria's story, remember, she's clinically dead, but she describes seeing a tennis shoe. And not just any tennis shoe, it was like perched on a window ledge on the 3rd floor of the hospital. A
Yep.
totally random detail, right? But then after she's resuscitated, she's able to describe the shoe and wear it was so accurately that, get this, a staff member actually confirmed it.
It's those little details that really make you wonder, like how could someone who's technically dead be so aware of their surroundings? It's wild.
It's one of the most baffling things about NDEs. And Cobbin gets into even more mind-blowing cases, like people recounting conversations that happened in other rooms while they were, gone, things they couldn't have known just by being in the room.
So not just seeing things, but hearing them too. It's like their senses were, I don't know, expanded or something.
That's what it seems like. It makes you wonder about consciousness itself. Like, maybe it's not actually confined to our physical bodies. Cobbin definitely seems to think that's a possibility. He talks about this woman, Vicky, who was blind from birth.
Blind from birth.
Yeah, and during her NDE, which was brought on by a car accident, she describes experiencing sight for the first time. Like, imagine a lifetime of darkness and then suddenly, bam, you're seeing trees, birds, people.
Wow, hold on. So she could actually describe what things look like, even though she'd never seen them before? How is that even?
That's the million-dollar question, right? It's like her consciousness had its own way of seeing independent of her physical eyes. Cobbin uses Vicky's experience and others like it to explore this idea that maybe, just maybe, consciousness has its own senses.
So we're talking bending time, teleporting, consciousness with its own senses. Is there anything else we need to add to this list?
Oh, we're just getting started. Remember the tunnel?
The tunnel, you mean like the tunnel of light?
Exactly. It's practically a cliche at this point, but it comes up again and again in NDE accounts. And Cobbin, he really digs into why that might be.
Right, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows, is it? There's also the whole hellish NDE thing.
That's right. Not every NDE is a pleasant experience. Some people describe encountering darkness, negativity even, torment.
Yeah, and those stories are often kind of brushed under the rug, like people don't want to talk about them.
Exactly. But Cobbin, he approaches these darker experiences with the same curiosity and respect as the more, blissful ones, which I think is really important.
So what's his take on these scarier NDEs? What could explain them?
Well, he suggests that they could be reflections of our deepest fears, our unresolved issues, maybe even our own belief systems.
So not necessarily a literal hell, but more like our own internal landscape projected outwards.
Exactly. And that's a pretty unsettling thought, isn't it? Because if our own minds can shape what we experience in the afterlife, what does that say about the reality we're experiencing right now? It's a question that's been around forever, but NDEs really bring it to the forefront.
It's like our darkest selves are staring back at us, even after death.
It's definitely a chilling thought. But Cobbin, he doesn't see it as a completely hopeless thing. He actually suggests that maybe by looking at these hellish NDEs, by really digging into the specific fears and patterns they contain, we might actually learn something about ourselves, our own subconscious minds.
So it's like therapy, but instead of the therapist, you have a near-death experience.
Right. It sounds kind of crazy, but think about it. Cobbin's point is that these experiences, even the scary ones, they hold information. They make us face the parts of ourselves we'd rather avoid, the stuff we try to keep buried.
I see what you mean. It's all connected to that idea of NDEs being a reflection of our own internal world. But then, if what we believe shapes what we experience after we die, doesn't that mean we're essentially creating our own heavens and hells?
That's the big question, isn't it? And honestly, it's one that Cobbin doesn't really answer. He leaves it up to the reader to decide. His whole thing is we should approach these accounts with an open mind, but also a healthy amount of skepticism. Don't just accept everything at face value.
It's definitely a lot to process. Time bending, out-of-body experiences, consciousness with its own senses. It makes you question, well, everything. Life, death, the whole shebang.
And that's what makes Nursery of the Gods so fascinating. Cobbin doesn't try to give you all the answers. He just lays out the information, these incredible stories, and he lets you wrestle with it yourself.
It's a wild ride, for sure. But I have to say, it really leaves you with a sense of wonder. Like, there's so much we don't know.
Absolutely, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from our deep dive into Chapter 5. NDEs, with all their strangeness and mystery, they remind us that the universe is a vast, uncharted territory. And we're just starting to scratch the surface of what's really out there.
It makes you realize just how much we don't know, which is both exciting and maybe a little terrifying.
A little bit of both, definitely. But hey, that's what keeps things interesting, right?
I guess so. Well, on that note, I think we're going to have to wrap up our exploration of Chapter 5 of Nursery of the Gods. But for everyone listening, don't let the conversation stop here. Pick up a copy of the book, check out these amazing stories for yourselves, and let us know what you think, what really resonated with you.
Yeah, join the conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
And who knows, maybe we'll even feature some of your insights in a future episode.
That's right. Until next time, keep exploring the inexplicable.